Pleasure to have you join us once again, and good morning. You're watching the Afia Morning Show live from the Enugu, of course, whole city of Enugu, Nigeria. I'm Nathalie Oku, and Oji is here. Oji, good morning. How are you doing?
I'm great.
When you went to Professor, Professor, I said, this credentials, they strong. Yes,
Melikin.
I know. It hit the both of us this morning. Both of us climbed this morning.
Yeah.
How are you? I'm fine. How are you?
I'm great. I'm here. Thank God. Another day, brand new
Happy
day.
Thursday.
Oh, nice. Happy Thursday again. Well, pre-Friday, or pre-weekend, or thank God it's Friday.
Let's just stay with happy. Let's not start the pre.
Why is it?
Because if you start the pre,
it's happy day,
I'll have to leave this seat and sit over there.
It's a happy day.
Because if I'm too close.
What happened?
No. If once I scream now, the scream will be too close. The interference will be too much.
I'm trying to connect to what you're saying right now.
Yeah, it means I'll yell at you. For real. Okay. All right. Happy pre-Friday. Happy Thursday. Of course, we're not here alone. Barrister Chidi Uju-Atumba, human rights lawyer, has made a grand comeback to the morning show. We missed you. How are you doing?
I do so. But I have been all busy with Amazing Grace on this 9:30.
I've been seeing your avatar every now and then. I see you on screen, standing tall in front of the studio, in front of the office.
I will change that picture.
You change it, but we'll still use that one. We'll still use that one. Okay, maybe that's our favorite. All right, let's take a look at headlines. Of course, get your action-packed reaction as always. I hope the chair is secure.
There's a lot to talk about.
All right, let's start with the punch. ISWAP threat. Southwest North Central states on high alert. Governors, police tighten surveillance as Ayedatiwa, Ododo, others urge calm amid ISWAP threat alert. Sanwo-Olu, Monarch Hill, Oyebanji at road inauguration. Terrorism trial. Kano lists week. Sanwo-Olu, Buratai among 23 witnesses. Stray bullet kills tricycle rider outside Lagos brothel. Elumelu champions private sector as catalyst for growth. Electoral reforms. Senate pushes INEC to defend election results. Tinubu swears in Amupiton today. Reps probe Jonathan's $460 million CCTV project. That is special on page 41. On The Guardian, federal government begins public finance reforms ahead of new tax regime in January. Nigeria won't accept any deportees from U.S. Tuga insists. Federal government releases 32.9 billion naira to PHCs, asks communities to track spending. Kano lists Sanwo-Olu, Wike, Umahi, Malami, others as witnesses in terrorism trial. Northern leaders back Tinubu as opposition cautions APC alleges attacks. Senate silent on early voting shifts electoral burden of proof to INEC. Federal government raises concerns over crude supply to refineries, gas flaring, and ASU continues negotiations, suspends 2-week warning strike. On Nigeria Tribune, ISWAP threat, Kogi Ondo move to douse tension. ASU suspend 2-week warning strike, rejects 35% salary increase offer, gives federal government 1-month window to address demands. IMPI reverses inflation rate projection to 14% from 17% for December. Election petition Senate to shift burden of proof to INEC. On Daily Trust, Electoral Act Amendment. Senate proposes mandatory electronic transmission of results. How I lost 8 relatives to Niger tanker explosion. Northern PDP governors, others endorse Turaki for national chair. And lastly here, Dangote plans sale of 10% stake in refinery.
Okay, starting from Daily Independent. Credit drought threatens Nigeria's food security goals. Reps probe $850 billion unremitted crude oil export proceeds. Investigate status of $460 million Abuja CCTV project. Terror alert. Security agencies will twat attack Ondo assures residents. FG to invest $220 million in job creation for Nigerian youths. Assures workers of timely October pay, by the way, and amid IPPIS upgrade. While we cut short 2-week strike by ASU, Tinubu okays 2-year tenure extension for Surveyor General. $450 million still coy to begin operations in Ogun by 2026. Nigerian Breweries records 1.04 trillion naira revenue in 9 months. Senate plans shifting burden of election petition proof to INEC. Nigeria's elections improved since PDP left, says Akpabio. Lastly, on Daily Independent, Elumelu underscores role of private sector as engine of transformation. Salient Times. Reps to probe $460 million Chinese loan for Abuja CCTV project. Nigeria's elections have improved tremendously since PDP left power, says Akpabio. Nnamdi Kanu enters defense list, Wike Umahi Buratai others as witnesses. Woman attempting to kill cockroach set house ablaze, killing neighbor. ASU suspends 2-week warning strike, rejects 35% salary increase offer. Opposition rejects proposal to limit political parties to 10. $450 million steel company to begin operations in Ogun by 2026. I will not pay ransom to bandits, says Governor Bago, urges Niger residents to defend themselves. Davido appointed chairman of Osun Sports Trust Fund. Platform Times. Outrage as Senate moves limiting Nigeria's parties to 10. Opposition warns proposal threatens multi-party democracy. Critics say move violates citizens' constitutional rights. No record of genocide against any group in Nigeria, says Sultan. Selfish agenda. Afenifere kicks against creation of 46 new states. Jigawa road flag off turns violent. Politicians escape mob attack. Kano names Wike Umahi Buratai Shaunlu others as witnesses as he begins defense. Gunmen abduct 3 INEC officials, others en route Anambra ahead of governorship election. NBC DSS probed me for 7 years before granting me FM license, says Ayefele. NSCDC arrests fake lawmaker, 3 others for forgery impersonation in Abuja. Lassa fever death toll rises to 172 as NCDC confirms 924 cases nationwide. And lastly, on the Platform Times, ASU suspends warning strike, says progress made on 2009 agreement negotiation. Lastly, Daily Global. Nigeria's elections are better since PDP left power, attributed to Akpabio. And Sunday Auditor, Nigeria's gentle titan of truth. Deri delays APC move amid Silva Lokobiri power talks. Lagos pleads to immortalize IGP Egbetokun in marble. Teachers celebrate Obebolo as he reveals that recruitment of fresh 3,000 teachers are underway. Amopiton resumes next week ahead of Anambra poll. And lastly, ASU suspends 2-week warning strike.
All right, Oji, where do we begin this morning?
Okay, first of all, these that occupied almost all the front page of the papers. Let's start with this one. This one, Daily Global. Nigeria's elections better since PDP left power, says Akpabio. Barrister Chede. I want a reaction to this. Since PDP left, and the assertion is that APC has been handling the elections right, and that they've handled it rightly. So what's your take with this assertion by Akpabio, stating that since PDP left, it's been free, fair, credible, and lovely elections in Nigeria?
Well, you can say that the Senate President is entitled to his own opinion. Yeah, he was a governor of a state for 8 years, and that was under the platform of PDP.
Yeah.
So I think stepping his foot into Senate is when he now defected to APC. I wonder the kind of yardstick and kind of indices, metrics upon which the Senate President is basing his analysis on, saying that elections have been, better or freer since PDP
inception.
It doesn't. I beg to disagree with the Senate President. I think the elections we had during the PDP era, though you cannot vouch that they were 100% free and fair. But I think on a scale of 1 to 10, they are far much better than what we're having today in the name of election.
Okay, and also on Daily Trust right here, Electoral Act Amendment, Senate proposes mandatory electoral transmission of results. You know, it's been the conversation back and forth after all the promise of IRF and all that, and still what happened. They reverted to what it used to be, by the way. But with this conversation going on right now, do you think that an APC-led government would literally allow and make it mandatory that transmission of electronic transmission of results during election is going to suffice?
You see, prior to 2023 election, okay, the then INEC chairman, you know, that was the first time we started talking about all these, you know, transmission of result and all the rest of them. He made a whole lot of promises, and, you know, he made it look as though Nigeria, you know, have arrived in getting it right when it comes to free and fair and transparent election. But it was after the election that we now started, you know, judging and, you know, using real situations to, you know, actually judge what happened in the backdrop of all those expose that the election is going to be free and fair, and that the election will be transmitted, you know, via the IRF in real time. You know, that was actually what gave people that confidence. But if the Senate is looking at it now, I think they will be looking at it from an entirely different perspective.
Yeah.
You know, amending the Constitution and also amending the Electoral Act. So in such a way that these components will be enshrined into this document, so that we won't come again and they will tell us go to court, and when we get to court, they will tell us all those things are not enshrined in the Electoral Act and they are not in the Constitution, and because of that, you understand that we have to resort back to the manual counting. You understand? So, and if they are really pushing this, let them push it and push it fast, so that they will be tested. You understand? With certain by an off-time state election that will come prior to 2027, so that we will test it in real time and see how it works. I wouldn't want them to make white elephant promises, and at the end of the day, we'll go back to what we had. You know, the deplorable electoral system that we operated in 2023. It makes no sense. Election, if I will use this opportunity to say this, is very, very fundamental. See, let me tell you something. Corruption and poverty will continue as long as the right people who campaign, who we saw, who we trust, who we voted, are not in power. So any government that will get election correct will have, most, in my own opinion, more 80% gotten it right in the, you know, area of corruption and the area of governance and good leadership in Nigeria. We need the right people to be there, and it's only through electoral process and it's only through transparency that we can get it right.
Okay, these are some of the pointers right here railed out. Probably they're looking into the electoral amendment. This is section 82 amended to make notice of political parties, conventions, and congresses more specific and time-bound. The sections 12(1)(d) and section 12(2) recognize the voting rights of inmates, provided INEC makes adequate arrangements for their registration, participation in elections. And this one, section 10(2)(c), adds the national identification number (NIN) as part of the requirements for voters registration. Section 27(5)(7) prescribes clear notice and timetables for elections, mandating that presidential and governorship elections be held not later than 185 days before the expiration of the incumbent's tenure.
Very, very fundamental. But you have to bear with me that if national identification number will be used as a means of identification, it will definitely disenfranchise a whole lot of people who doesn't have that. So I think it should be national identification number or any other identification document that you can use to identify yourself. Okay, and if you are extending the right to vote to inmates, okay, if you're, it's a very wonderful thing for that to be done. You see, amendments, they are wonderful, but when we talk about vote counting, okay, we are looking at a process of transparency that can enable anywhere, any part of the world to monitor the electoral process in real time, because that's what gives it credibility. That's what gives it credibility. All those, they can even say that those outside the shores of this country can vote. But my question is that what process are we putting on the ground to ensure that their vote counts? Okay, it's actually the part where the vote counts, okay, that makes all the difference. It's not about expanding the vortex of those who will have the right to vote at the end of the day. That's not what makes the whole difference. What makes the whole difference is my vote counting. No matter where I am, no matter how I voted, as long as I obey the regulations and the electoral rules on that day, let my vote count. And early voting should also be considered, okay? Early voting should be considered. It will go a long way to lessen the burden that INEC will go through on that day. Let's take, for instance, if 2 million people are to be voted, to exercise their voting right in Enugu. Okay, let's take, for instance, on the day of election, if 800 can do early voting before that day, you can bear me witness that the workforce that the law enforcement at INEC would deploy on that day will be enough, you understand, to cater and to ensure that the remaining 1,200,000 people, cast their vote in real time and cast their vote as early as possible. So there are things that we should consider to make it, to broaden the horizon. But what I'm saying in effect is that the ability of INEC, oh my God, to transmit this election in real time from the polling units, you understand, to the via the IRF to the INEC portal, so that the whole world can see how these figures are being generated. If what the Senate are trying to propose, like making it look like just like INEC will not be the sole people who will now prove their election. If they're going to do that, we're going to have another problem, okay? We're going to have another problem, because this issue of transparency will have to be tested.
Right.
If INEC will be the only one to come in court to say that this election is free and fair, then INEC will definitely have a whole lot of work to do.
A whole lot of work to do indeed.
Yeah.
Now, away from INEC to the courtroom, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the detained IPOB leader, is set to open his defense. And he has listed high-profile individuals as witnesses. And he even intends to compel some to come by invoking some of the constitutional rights that he has, and of course some acts. And he's also asking the court, he's seeking he said a 90-day window to conclude his defense. Now, I would like you to explain what that means,
okay,
and the implications of listing these key individuals, including the FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, Babajide Sanwo-Olu of Lagos State, and other individuals to come and testify. Some ordinary material witnesses, others vital, compelling witness. He has separated them into two categories, listing 23 witnesses in total, and he intends to get some of them to come, to compel them to come. Do you see some of these individuals coming, the vital witnesses, and what are the chances of his being able to, shall we say, assure the courts or convince them beyond reasonable doubt that he is not guilty of the allegations leveled against him? And you remember that he intends to defend himself, to speak for himself, and he's sworn to tell the truth and nothing but the truth.
You see, there's a whole lot of issue to be considered here. Nnamdi Kanu opening his defense is not as though he is going to prove his innocence. No, he's not going to prove his innocence. He is only going to establish that the case of the prosecution does not find him guilty. So I have been wondering since I heard that news 2 days ago, because of the technicalities that are involved in criminal prosecution. I wonder whether he will be able to draw the line, you understand, between what is a weighty evidence and what is just a mere social reportage. You understand? Dividing the witnesses into two is very, very good. I bet you that most of those compelling witnesses will come on their own. Mark my word, most of those whom he's listed as compelling witnesses, they will come on their own. Why he has to
So let's look at, before you continue,
Yes.
let's now list out the vital and compellable witnesses. We're looking at Nyesom Wike, Minister of the FCT, Sanwo-Olu, We're looking at Buratai alongside the former Minister of Finance, General Theophilus Danjuma, now retired. I mean, I'm really interested in the FCT Minister.
Theophilus Danjuma might want to come on his own.
Yeah, no.
Do you see the FCT Minister coming on his own?
The FCT left. If the FCT Minister should be left on his own, he is the type that would want to come because of his vocal capacity. You know, he would love to take the stage. You understand? And answer any question that will come from the IPOB
But
leader.
let's understand this, Barrister Chidi, because you're a legal professional and many of us are confused. I'm confused as well, some of the terminology. So
There's no confusion
I ask
here.
on behalf of the viewers and myself.
Okay.
So what does it mean that these witnesses, that the IPOB leader, the detained IPOB leader is going to get them to come? What does he mean labeling them as witnesses? What does he mean? Does he mean they're going to support him, or they're going
Definitely. He intends to put them in the witness box, okay? Because if you are now kind of subpoenaed by the court to come to testify, you will file your witness written statement on oath, okay? You will file your witness written statement on oath. It could be, I'm not aware of anything concerning this case, or I am aware this is my participation and this is the extent to which I participated. Now, when you file that, whether true or false, the court will receive it. So when the court receives it, now Mazi Nnamdi Kanu will analyze your written statement on oath. We are now making reference to any witness who is compellable or who have been subpoenaed by the Federal High Court judge to come to testify. So he will now put questions across to you, probably things that has to do with his extradition into this country, things that has to do with IPOB, things that has to do with him being a terrorist, probably any kind of question that he can put across to you.
How were these witnesses? How did Mazi Kanu identify these witnesses? I mean, what does he mean by, because when you mention those names and his name, somehow people start to wonder, oh, what's their involvement?
Let me tell you one thing that you need to know. One of the accusations of the prosecution against Mazi Nnamdi Kanu is that he incited violence, okay? And you could bear me witness that most of these people that he has listed their name have also been in the national media in one time or the other, saying exactly what Mazi Nnamdi Kanu say. So he would definitely probably play that video and ask them. Let's take, for instance, Buratai. Are you the one who said this? Okay, say yes. So why did you say it? What actually do you mean?
So he's going to see Mazi Kanu questioning.
Yes, is him now.
So he wants to question the FCT minister too.
He's going to rebut the accusation against him with almost some of the things that have been said with people in power. He's going to tell the whole world that I am being accused for nothing, because what I'm being accused for is what most of these people have said on the national television, and nobody is charging them.
So let me ask, let me comment there. So these people listed, the 23 witnesses are people who may have said something about him, and he wants to question them in court.
Yes.
Not necessarily that they are coming to testify in his favor.
No, not necessarily that they are coming to testify in his favor. He has already built a line of question. He has already built a line of probably media presentation, national issues that borders on terrorism, that borders on insecurity. So when he will play it out, probably from Twitter or from social media or from national TV, he will now pit you against that publication and ask you whether what you did or what you said is different from what he is being accused of.
Do you think it's going to be televised?
I don't think it's going to be televised, because I don't think it's going to be televised. We might get snip shots of what is going on inside there, or a chronological order of the proceedings, but I don't think that it will be. But if they won't televise it, it will go a long way to
Barrister Chidi, how heated is the courtroom going to be on the day that Mazi Kanu decides to open his defense? I mean, I'm seeing reports 90-day defense window. He's seeking that the court grants that window for him. What does it mean that he's seeking a 90-day window to conclude his defense?
Because
does it mean he needs 90 days to conclude, or he needs 90 days to prepare?
He needs 90 days to conclude. When you look at the avalanche of documents, when you look at the number of witnesses to call, when you look at the fact of cross-examining all those witnesses and what it will actually take him and his lawyer to file for court to grant him order for them to be subpoenaed to come. So when you look at all those processes and one after adjournment and one after adjournment, that is a good time to actually exhaust all that he
So
has.
he wants 3 months.
He wants 3 months
to conclude his defense
and
all of the intricacies involved in it.
Yes,
now we know that
I'm
lawyer
worried about
Jimako,
that.
his lead counsel, our lawyer Jimako, is currently in custody, has been arrested, and of course, following his involvement in the protest and what they described as his breaching the terms or going into areas that they were not supposed to go to, the restricted areas, making the way to Asobela. Right?
Okay.
What does the arrest of our lawyer mean for this defense case?
It will definitely affect the case of the defense, because our law is like the bridge between Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and his actual attorney, that is Kanu Agabi. Okay, so our law is the principal counsel, while Kanu and Agabi is the lawyer that represents him in court. It will not stall or kind of stop Mazi Nnamdi Kanu from going on with his defense. But when you look at the provisions of the law, where Aloy Ejimako, Nnamdi Kanu's brother, and other people have been charged, is that, in my own understanding, they are billable offenses, they are flimsy. I don't even think that the prosecution will hold waters.
Has been in this trial for a decade, 10 years. He has been facing these high-profile terrorism charges, and he wants to defend himself, for himself, and by himself. What do you think the courtroom would look like when Mazi Kanu opens his mouth to speak?
I have been worried since the news came out that he has decided to
interrogate, to speak,
to represent himself in a court of law, because it's not about telling my own side of the story, Natalie. It's not about social noise. It's about proof. It's about facts and figures, and there are fundamental principles of laws of evidence that you really have to, apply, even in real time, as the cross-examination and as the examination in chief is going on. You need to be adept with the principles of law and with different sections of the Evidence Act that regulates that entire procedure. So I wonder how the magic he will do. Probably the lawyers by the side will be passing him a piece of paper to read, to know when to say objection, my lord, and to know when not to say objection. Because if you don't object at the right time, you will fail to interrogate either a fact or a figure
prior to this.
Yes.
Mazi Nnamdi Kanu has been in the news for health challenges. It's going to be heated. He wants to speak for himself. And we have been made aware of news about a condition he has, life-threatening, which the enemy has debunked, said it's not life-threatening, but we know there's something wrong with him. He's not well. Do you think that health-wise he has the capacity to handle this kind of defense?
This is more or less like a subjective question, because it's only Mazi Nnamdi Kanu that can tell the actual state of his health. But for him to have opted to stand to defend himself, it means that he's okay. He's health-wise, he's fine. But my problem is his temperament.
What's his temperament, in your view?
Mazi Nnamdi Kanu may be overwhelmed by what he would like to express, okay? And in that process, he might overshoot his boundary, he might blow his top, or probably throw tantrums to court people or even to the prosecution counsel. And in that bid, he might lose it. You understand? There's an upward tendency that he might lose it. We have seen him that he's a man of words. He's a man of intelligence, and he has that vocal capacity to actually speak at the highest pitch of his voice whenever the opportunity is given to him. That is a strength that needs to be harnessed with legal intelligence. If you're not quite a lawyer, you can blow all those things up, and at the end of the day, you can gather a little when it comes to weight. Evidence is all about weight. What is the weight of your evidence? What is the weight of what you are bringing? In law, that's what we call probative value. The people you are calling, the things you are trying to juxtapose, of what probative value do they hold? You have seen the length and the breadth of the case of the prosecution. So how will you use these people to counter what is already before the judge? Because here is not about telling my own side of the story. You must bring out some things that when you, material evidence, that when you put them in the scale of justice, they will have weight. They must have weight.
Right.
If they don't have weight, it's not going anywhere.
Has this been done before? And did it hold water? Not even Nelson Mandela told this path, right? And what happens afterwards?
Personalities are different, okay? In as much as I believe that personalities are intrinsic to basic policies, personalities are different. Times are also different. Left to me, I would have wanted Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to enter inside the witness box and tell his own story as a defense witness. I wouldn't have wanted him to opt to be the person who will, cross-examine the other witnesses, because he will get a whole lot of things right. I think in the past, a whole lot of people have entered inside the witness box. I think Ghani has defended himself. A whole lot of people have defended themselves, but most of them are lawyers. You understand? They know the route. They know the trend. They know what's up. They know how to navigate the Evidence Act and use the various sections of the law to buttress the point that they're trying to make. So I wonder how he will be able to do that.
Let's clarify this now. Let's read his statement verbatim, because you said something, defend himself or serve as a witness, that you would have preferred he be a witness.
Yes.
So let me read this excerpt from what he said, and maybe you can clarify us, right? Because we're on a journey of clearing this confusion. He said, I will testify on my own behalf, providing a sworn account of the facts, denying the allegations, and explaining the political context of my statements and actions. Now, kind of told the court this. So what does it mean? Does it mean he's going to serve as a witness and just testify? Or is he going to defend himself and interrogate the witnesses?
Let me give you a sense of what the real life situation looks like in the court of law. Okay? Now, when the court starts and he announces his appearance, he will announce his appearance as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, and he will label himself as the defendant appearing in person. He will now enter inside the witness box and now take the oath. You understand? I believe that whatever I will say in this court shall be the truth and nothing but the truth. So help me God. And now he will now start testifying. The challenge with this procedure is that a lawyer ought to be there leading you. What's your name? My name is this. What happened on this day? You will tell. It is the duty of the lawyer, you understand, to checkmate your testimony within the ambit of the law to ensure that you don't overshoot your boundaries. You don't say things that are maybe counterproductive to your case. So what now that he has elected to be his own lawyer and also testify in chief, you understand, who will hold his objections? Have you seen where the problem comes? Who would hold his objection? If he is towing towards a path that the prosecution doesn't want, and the prosecution says, objection, my lord, who will either sustain or overrule the objection? He is just shooting himself on the leg by saying...
Interestingly,
yes,
the judge has fixed today being October 23rd, for Kanu to open his defense. I mean, it's quite interesting.
He will testify in chief.
But don't you think...
And he will link every evidence and witness he has called to his own testimony.
Yeah.
If his testimony in chief does not involve some of the names he have called, those people can renege. They can say that they are not coming because his story, his defense cannot be linked directly to them. You understand? So as he presents his defense, he must, in one juncture or the other, link his defense to all those names that he has called and to every document he intended.
There's a gap which you need to fill before we move ahead. Now, he said he wants to testify on his behalf, right? Does it necessarily mean he wouldn't have counsel with him? Could you clarify that? Because you said somebody needs
even
to
if a counsel, if you, let me tell you what's going on
clarify
here.
this, what he's trying to say.
If you come and say, my lord, I want to be my own lawyer, it means
is that what he's saying?
Yeah, you've shut down your legal team.
By saying he wants to testify, is he saying he wants to be his own lawyer?
No, if he say he wants to testify, it means that he is a witness who will now enter inside the witness box and give his oral evidence in chief.
So it does not mean he would not have his counsel.
It does not mean that he will not have his counsel. But there's also a news that say that he wants to be his own lawyer. So these are two different things. I wouldn't want you to get it confused.
So correct us,
now,
clarity.
Him testifying for himself means that he is testifying as a defense witness. He is one of the defense witnesses. He can also call other defense witnesses, okay? Both material witnesses and compellable witnesses, as he rightly stated.
Yeah. Right.
Some of those witnesses may not be coming to state their own story in his own support, but he will use most of the things that he has brought out as his own defense, you understand, to question them. Like publications made in
and
national
then on the other
dailies.
side that you mentioned, you said you saw a report that he wants to be his own lawyer.
He being his own lawyer simply means that he has shut down his own legal team. No lawyer from Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's defense team will say anything in court. So they won't even announce their appearance.
What could actually lead
They will sit there and observe. They will
That's
sit
serious.
That's
We'll
very,
try
very
to
serious.
confirm that report.
Yes.
But go ahead, Oji.
What could actually lead to this kind of decision? Is it?
I believe
losing
that.
faith
Let me
in his
tell you, it's not
counsel?
faith. It's not faith. He is coming from this position that he wants to be heard. Mazi Nnamdi Kanu wants to be heard, and I am of the opinion.
Are there no other avenues
Yes,
for him to?
thank you. I am of the opinion that him testifying as the defense witness, DW1, defense witness 1, him testifying as DW1 will give him all the ample opportunity that he needs, okay, to testify and for him to be heard. Mind you, he will testify in chief either by adopting his written statement on oath, or he will reel out his story from Genesis to Revelation, anyhow he wants it. Now, the defense counsel will have the right in law to cross-examine him, you understand, to join issues with him based on the facts and material evidence which they are trying to use to prosecute him. It's something that you can only understand when you observe it being played out in a court of law.
Can this case be abruptly halted, right? Regarding that, everybody's having a conversation about it's like the whole country is heated right now. It's not just Ndibo.
Yes.
It's a Showore from the West, a Yoruba man, is, headlining a protest for Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Other people are talking about this. Could this actually propel the presidency to halt this case? And how would that happen, by the way, if they decide to, let's settle out of courts? I think this is more political than it is and all that. And how would that pan out if that's the decision?
I have always said that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu's case is not a legal case. Okay, there are so many illegalities surrounding it. Okay, by the way, how did he enter inside this country? I don't even want to talk about that. A high court in Kenya has ruled that those procedures is illegal. But let me not go into that right now. I believe that this is a case that ought to have been settled out of court. It's political. It's more political than legal. Okay, the Igbo leaders and the well-meaning Igbo, leaders of thought ought to have found a way to sort this thing out of court. I believe that they may have tried in one or two occasions, but they have to intensify effort. They have to go back to Mr. President and make him an offer that he will not reject in such a way that Mazi Nnamdi Kanu can regain his freedom and continue his agitation.
All right, so we don't have any reports confirming that he wants to be a lawyer in his own case. But what we know is that he has pledged to testify, on his behalf and to do so truthfully. So, of course, he was asked by the court to meet with his lawyers yesterday between certain hours, but there's no outright confirmation that he would not have a lawyer there.
The legal team have not released the legal team they sat yesterday to analyze his defense so that his case will be opened up today. I am going by what I read in the national daily that he has opted to be his own lawyer. But if that is not the final verdict, I will gladly embrace it because the magnitude of this case is one that senior advocates should be on your left side and other senior advocates should be on the right. You should be consulting continuously in real time.
But if he says if he's been told to consult with his lawyers a day prior, does it hint that he wants to defend himself?
That's where he's towing.
That's where it's towing.
That is where he's towing. You get it now. Why will he consult with his lawyers if he will retain their service today? There's no consultation. The lawyers will be the one telling the court that the defense is ready to open his case. And now the court will say, call your witnesses. Or rather, how many witnesses do you have? If they have not done that, the defense counsel will now tell the court, I have 20 documents to tender, and I have 23 witnesses to call. How many are ready today? One is ready today. Open up the floor. You will now call Mazi Nnamdi as DW1 to enter inside the witness box and swear the oath of the Bible or whatever you believe in, and testify in chief for the other party to cross-examine. Okay. That does not mean...
All right.
I think this is
right.
Sorry.
Oji, go ahead.
Why? What happens if any of these witnesses don't show up?
Those of them that are compellable will be compelled by the judge subpoenaing them to come. Okay, that's what we call an order of subpoena for them to come. Okay, so mandating you, that's the word compelling, whether you like it or not.
So you must honor it.
The court can compel you to come.
We have to end this now because we have to go.
Right.
I mean, it's
I just wanted to say something about
say it.
So, some of them are sitting governors who are enjoying their immunity. I wonder whether the court will still compel. That's just all I wanted to say.
That's a major concern. All right, Barrister Chidi, we have to wrap up. We do have to take regional stories. Thank you so much for coming on the program today. I'm going to watch and see a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that have just been left hanging, whether intentionally or not. But maybe the goal is not to say too much. I mean, saying little creates less controversy in an already complex case. It continues. So we're going to follow this and, of course, bring you up to speed as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu, the detained IPOB leader, opens his defense today, of course, as revealed by the judge. We'll continue to watch this and see where all this leads. And, of course, in the course of the rest of the week, we'll clear any other doubts and confusion as Mazi opens his defense. It's going to be heated, that's for sure.
Very, very
Regional stories in just moments. Don't go anywhere.